Welcome, welcome, welcome. Game Toppers Kickstarter 4.0. And we're in the studio. I'm Berkey, and this is
Josiah.
And we have our special guest, Brent Woodside from Woodside Illustrations with us.
Hi there.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. We always do a little bit of fill time here where we talk a little bit to our guests, tell you about some of the exciting things that are happening with the Kickstarter. But as we wait for people to fill in so that we can answer any questions you might have. So if you're joining now, please feel free to ask any questions you have about the campaign. If you have any feedback, you have any ideas that you have or would like to see, we'd love to hear from you. So please do that. We're also going to talk about some of our milestone goals. And what's been super exciting is over the weekend, we announced a huge milestone goal at $200,000. We're going to recap some of those things, but it had to do with a very special offer for our Mycroft dining cover where you got an extra free Mycroft game mat included with the purchase. It's like a crazy off-the-hook idea that I had been wanting to do something for the Mycroft dining cover pledge level. And that's something we had kind of planned, but in a little different way. So long and short of it, we launched that. People have embraced that, and that's super exciting. So we're really excited about some of the new things we're going to announce today. So I say we got Board Game Heaven. Raymond's in. Good to see you, Raymond. With that, as we wait for a few people to get in, Brent, I'd like to introduce you again. You and your wife, Kayla, have Woodside Illustrations, correct?
That's right.
And he's playing with his toys. That's always awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic play with the Republic Commando there. My personal favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Brent has is such an we had an amazing time. I'm trying to think about how to introduce how we met. I think we first met at the Origins Game Fair this summer, correct?
Absolutely.
So maybe tell us a little bit about Woodside Illustrations and what you've been doing, and then we can kind of talk about our collaboration a little bit more.
Well, Woodside Illustrations is my wife and me, since we're married, we're both Woodsides. And we mostly do freelance work for various companies, but the biggest and most obvious one's Disney. And I've been doing freelance work for Star Wars since around late 2003, early 2004-ish. I don't know when I did the art versus when it was published. And so when Disney bought Star Wars, we kind of came with the package. And we do conventions, we do Renaissance fairs. Before we had kids, we actually spent most of the year traveling in a big 34-foot camper, going from Renaissance fairs to comic book shows and stuff. But kids in school kind of changed all that.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure to meet you at Origins. I got to meet you and Kayla, and at the time when I saw your, my son Josiah is a big Star Wars buff, and he's done a lot with Star Wars Armada, and even developed a card for Fantasy Flight games with Grand Admiral Thrawn and different things. And so I'm always sharing that story about his he gets embarrassed, but he's an amazing miniatures player, and he's done a lot with Star Wars Legion. But I had purchased some art from you for Josiah, actually, because he's a big fan, and I am too. But long and short of that, I started talking to you guys about this idea about collaborating together, about maybe a game mat. And then when you both came to my booth, we did it 2 different times because you were manning your booth at Origins. I showed you our new Mycroft topper and this new idea I had about creating thematic art rails where they could be interchangeable art files where we could really do something up cool with vinyl graphics with high quality UV scratch resistant protected materials. And when I brought you over to the booth, it felt like me and you were just like, boom, creatively, it was like the ideas were just popping and we were both on the same page. And then when Kayla came over, it was the same gig. It was like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. Oh, yeah, I was actually thinking, what if we did this? And you go, yeah, I could do that. And I mean, it was like this really beautiful moment, I thought, artistically.
Oh yeah.
And so we've talked about lots of different ideas that we could pursue with this. What gets you excited about this project?
It was a storytelling method. I like to do panoramic stuff, but usually like a 1:3 ratio or 1:2. The natural wideness of such an image makes your eye not focus on one particular thing, so there's natural movement flowing through an image that's super wide like that. But I'd never done anything that wide, and I'd never done anything that was going to tell a story that wide and then have another one and another one and another one. So it was going to be an interesting challenge. And I love Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy and all that kind of stuff. And so it got me a chance to go back to doing some artwork of that. I've done, I guess I've done some fantasy stuff recently, but nothing where I could make up, my own characters. Like it was all fantasy stuff that there was already characters that they needed to look like and stuff.
Well, I was thinking about something, when you and I were talking about, you're big in the D&D world. Josiah's a big D&D player too. And, I don't play that as often. I have before, but it was like, okay, this theme is such a hot theme. The role-playing games and fantasy games are so popular, and there's a really nice crossover into the board game segment now also. We've got Lord of the Rings, trading card games, and all kinds of things, and even games like from AEG where we've got Quest, Thunderstone Quest, and some of these fantasy themed card games and board games that this topper particularly is just fantastic for that theme. And the art, when we talked about doing these storyboards with our Mycroft, of course, those of you that don't know, my daughter Hannah Wagner's jumped in. She does all of our graphics, and she jumps in and she says,
Love the artwork. Truly comes to life, especially when seen in person.
It's true. When you see these rails in person, we looked at them all and went, oh my gosh, this is way better than these images on camera show. We were super excited about it, still are. But we've got that thought process of making it as a story. Like the first one, you've got the band all together and they're all figuring out what are we going to go do to get the dragon's hoard, and they're sneaking around thinking. But then you got some lurking people, the wizard's sitting over there just kind of watching it all happen, and you've got a couple of Hobbit characters dancing around. You got some minstrels out there doing their thing, and all of a sudden it transitions from this motion that's happening at the tavern, and all of a sudden they're on the journey, which all great role-playing games have, right? And then it travels into that place where they're going into the actual dungeon or into the cave. And then there's this huge 48-inch long storyline where all of the characters are in this great epic battle. Tell us how you came along with that. I know you and I talked about a lot of things, but tell us about your inspiration of these different scenes and how you thought that was wanted to bring that to life.
Certainly. The tavern was where I started because I wanted to start with something easy to kind of get my head around it and stuff. And originally I was thinking, well, there'll be my kids and I read a lot of Where's Waldo and Where's Wookie, and books that are kind of similar, and that there's a whole bunch of things going on. And so I was thinking about those and looking at those and stuff. And I was like, well, I'll have the adventuring party, 4 to 6 people's probably enough for most adventuring parties. And I'll have them at the table, and then, these other miscreants just at the tavern where they're meeting to discuss the whole caper. And then as I switched to the second one, which I actually ended up doing the last piece, the 48-inch wide piece second, I realized that there was a lot of real estate for characters to fill. So I was like, well, maybe some of those hangers-on either follow along or, I mean, ultimately, if you're going to a dragon's den that's going to have even more than one dragon in it, yeah, you're going to welcome anybody who's willing to come with you. My thought on the wizard was maybe he wasn't even a part of the party, but he was close enough to hear it. Maybe magic guided him there, and he has his own reasons for being there. And then there's the tall, dark-clad swordsman entering into the tavern, like silhouetted by a light behind him and stuff. Kind of a strider, mysterious, and maybe he has his own reasons for joining too. Whereas a lot of the tavern drinkers, they would just get swept up in the story. They were obviously using magic to plan their dragon heist, so they weren't keeping it a secret or anything. If I was the leader of an adventuring party, and I had my 6 like companions, and we were like, we're going to go into this giant cave filled with dragons. There'll be perils all along the way till we even get there, and then there'll be dragons once we get there. Yeah, I'd recruit as many walking meat shields as possible to join us, especially once they were drunk. And then once you keep them drunk until you got them out of town, and then they're along that second panel, not the second panel I did, but the actual second panel, where they're out walking and they're sobering up and they're like, what did we agree to? Oh no. But it's too late, they'd have to walk back alone. And so then by the time we get to the third panel, where we're in kind of the steppes of Khazad-dûm, mines, they've entered a cave, they've gone underground, they're searching for the entrance into the actual dragon's den. In that case, they're kind of spread out and they're running. There's some that are just at the very tail end, and there's a horde of green goblin orc chasing them. And those obviously were just not the quickest, because if you follow along the path, there's some that have made it quite a ways ahead of them, and some that are already at the other end entering the dragon's den. So especially if when I've played D&D with the same group for like 8 years now, and we end up with a lot of NPCs. I'm always, especially if we're going on a big adventure like that, and I think I can vaguely trust the NPCs, I definitely squeeze as many in as possible, and I would definitely be leaving them behind, and the rest of my party would all be running ahead. So that's kind of where I was at when I was like, well, let's spread them out. But then they all eventually, we definitely lose some of the followers along the way. By the time we get to the last panel, not everybody's in there. And the strongest have survived, and the main party, most of them have made it kind of to the end. The wizard's there at the end fighting the dragon. It's not that the others aren't contributing. Obviously, they're fighting the other things that would be getting the wizard and the dwarf there that are facing the main giant red dragon. But yeah, I don't know. I spend so much time in front of it, I definitely have time to make up stories about everybody.
Well, I feel like those things you're sharing really came through in the art. And one of the artistic elements that really was your thought was, I was talking about, okay, we've got these breaks in the aluminum where they're 24-inch segments. And with our Watson topper, they're 30-inch segments, for instance. So if we were ever to do something with a Watson topper, we would need to do these in 30-inch segments. But in order to carry the one story to the next, and to make a nice seamless cut, so that we're not cutting right in the middle of some important artwork. And you said, oh, I'm going to make books. I got this idea. I can do these books. And so the bookends actually meet together. And so if you take the center section of our topper out, you lose the journey section, of course, of the Mycroft, the center journey, but then you still have the first and the second part when you put them together to be the Moriarty 4-foot by 4-foot topper. And these bookends that you created, they still work. So tell us about what inspired you about these bookends.
My original thought was to kind of have it fade to black and have an excuse for it to fade to black from scene to scene, like an alley that fades to darkness and then something in the next scene. But as I was working on I started to realize they were all going to end up with the same color and value, and especially then if I made all the ends the same color and value, it was going to just end up this kind of continuous mush. So that was when I decided the first scene we see most people all of their body or 3/4 of their body, but it's a certain scale. Everybody's a certain scale, like the viewpoint. The second one, everybody's actually much closer. You're getting to see like facial details and stuff. And then the third one is the most zoomed out, where everybody's teeny tiny. And then the last one kind of has a mix of all of them. So that was one factor. And then I decided I wanted changes in the color palette from each one so that we can distinctly see they're having a time at a tavern, maybe like at night, it's maybe fading to dark somewhere. But then the next morning, or they're out walking, and then we don't know what time of day it is in the cavern, and then in the actual dragon pit, there's you don't know what time of day it is either. So I wanted scale to separate them and color and value to separate them. But then the fade to black on each one wasn't going to work, because if it's like a nice bright shiny morning where everybody's hungover and unhappy about being on this long walk, a black corner wouldn't necessarily make sense. And then I thought, well, they could have, like, where would they come up with the idea that there's this dragon and all this hoard that they need to go steal? Maybe there's a book they found, and maybe the book was even left by the wizard. So when they're sitting there at the table in the very first panel, and there's this magic dragon popping up off the table, it could be that they have the very book that you're seeing from each panel to panel open, and it's popping up magic and giving them clues as to how they could so easily get in there and just swipe this. And it could very well be the wizard sitting over there who would put the book in their path and is, using them as a way to get into the dragon cave for whatever nefarious wizard reason he has.
Well, they're spectacular. The way that transitioned was brilliant. I just loved it. When I saw the artwork again, I was just so enamored with it. We're going to make a big announcement about the designer art topper in this show. We have a couple questions we want to get to real quick here. I see we have Eric has a couple.
Eric says 2 questions. What is the most overhang you would feel comfortable having for the supporting table under the topper? I'm torn between the Watson and the Holmes.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And our toppers, because of our cross support engineering, there's 2 cross supports under each segment of the topper. And this has that rubberized material underneath them. Also, the rails have the rubberized material. And so it's designed to overhang your under table by as much as 7 to 9 inches. So for instance, the Holmes topper, which is a outside dimension, is 43 by 79. The play area is 3 foot by 6 foot, 72 inches. You always add 3.5 inches for the rail. So 43 by 72, but they work really well on those 30-inch wide by 6 foot plastic folding tables. And that's because of the cross support engineering. Of course, the bigger the under table you have and the more stable that under table is, the more stable your topper is. So basically, you can subtract about 14 inches from the outside dimension of the topper, and that gives you a good idea of what's recommended. We know people that put it on smaller tables and it works. It's amazing how much our toppers do stabilize even a table that's a little wobbly. For some reason, it just kind of stabilizes it a little bit.
And then second, if I order the leg kit add-on, would that slow down the early bird pledge for a package? The short answer there is no, it shouldn't. We do have enough stock for leg kits to cover any early of the early bird packages, so that shouldn't be an issue there.
Excuse me.
And then Stefan asks, hi, quick question for non-US backers. Are the shipping costs for each mat the sum of mats? Me, for instance, pledged an amount for 4 mats. So that's a great question. In the Pledge Manager, we have combined shipping costs. So it's not going to necessarily cost you the same shipping for each mat after the first one. Usually there is some savings when you order multiple mats together. The exact numbers will depend on especially for non-US, depend on the country, but those prices will all be listed in the Pledge Manager. So, but yes, it won't be the full cost of 4 individual mats shipping for sure.
And our 4 mat bundle rack, where you get the mat included, the mat rack actually has a separate shipping charge because that's a separate package. But then all 4 of those mats also have a shipping charge, I believe. So I think that's the questions we have there. I know one of the things, Brent, you and I had talked about, and Kayla likewise, we had talked about this fantasy theme. One of the items that our backers have brought up during this campaign, and there's a couple updates where we've actually talked about it, and I think this might be a good time to kind of interject with you on this concept. But our standard rails, which we have a lot of them out there. I don't know, maybe 4,000 toppers out there, that have been sold over the last 6 years. We've had some people mention that they're cool to the touch because it's a military grade aluminum metal product. So if it's in a colder basement or something of that nature, that they felt it was cool on their arms. It hasn't been a common complaint, but I've heard recently just some people mentioning, hey, it'd be nice to have something to put over that in the winter time or that type of thing. Well, of course, we make amazing neoprene game mats, right? Well, I had some material. This was actually some original material that's really thin. It's only like a 1.5 mil. But I cut some strips that would actually fit over the rail without interfering with the card slot, but go over enough to actually cover the rounded edge. So when you put your arms on it, and I was doing that for testing purposes to see if it would move or not. And while I can pick it up, when you put your arms on it, as much as I try to move around, it really doesn't move around. Well, then I didn't have the quite right size of material without going and cutting a brand new mat. But I had some other material that's the 3 millimeter with the stitched edge. And I put that on there, and that was even better. It didn't move at all. People are like, well, we need to get some adhesive on there. It's kind of like our toppers. They feel like the toppers that has to be clamped down on a table. No, we've engineered it to where it just doesn't move. People are blown away by how it doesn't move. Well, I felt kind of like that with these. They're really stable. It was Josiah's concern too when he saw them. Are these going to stay in place? And the way this non-skid background is made on the mat material that we use, it's a higher density neoprene, and it's a really kind of intense little crisscross pattern that you notice our mats, they don't slip on tables. And that's why we stayed with our high quality mats versus doing double-sided, terrain mats and things of that nature. Well, anyway, we can print anything on these.
Yeah, and Saswata says, just to keep pumping focus on the rail mat idea, I would pay a hefty sum if they came in Brent's fantasy theme, The Lost Worlds, Ancient Egypt, or the original fantasy.
Well, I've had this thought. The ones that I printed are 24 inches. I'm a fairly broad-shouldered fellow. I can put my arms on here and never feel like I'm not getting my arms rested on it. So I think 24 inches is a good size. We already have the artwork in 24-inch segments. So with the exception of the final scene, it wouldn't be, we've been helping Brent actually print some mats for his shows, for some of his artwork. We could likewise just, rather than printing this on vinyl, we can also print it on our mats. And that I've talked with our mat manufacturer about this. There's another idea I want to explore with Brent while we have him on here. So I know we got questions in here, so I want to make sure we give you time to talk. But we can do any kind of art we want on these mats. Of course, for us, we have to decide, well, what do we need to charge to make it doable so that when we have to buy our minimums that we can actually do this and not lose our shirts on it. And yet I want it to be accessible. I want it to be affordable for people. So I'm not looking to make a great big add-on here that's going to cost people a fortune. Just a way to make it, accessible and cool. So anyway, that being said, when you and I were talking at the booth, and you saw we had several ideas for different thematic elements that we could do with our rails, other than just the fantasy, right?
Oh yeah, I think a superhero one would be pretty cool with like a city. You could do night and day. You have Batman, Dark Justice characters, and full on. I mean, obviously not Batman, Spider-Man, but that sort of setting and superheroes. A sci-fi one would be really awesome. Sci-fi would really open itself to more of a high pristine sci-fi, or a broken jagged sci-fi, Warhammer elements or Star Wars elements. There's so many different ways you could take it.
Well, and having a space theme, where we had a space city or something, or have some story going on in them, but then it could also have these other elements. One of the awesome things that we love to do is create thematic game mats. And of course, we have 10 brand new mats, right? And by some amazing artists. Well, we've got Brent and Kayla. We got to mention Kayla here too, because Kayla's art is amazing. You both have distinctive art styles, but the collaboration with Woodside Illustrations, I mean, we could do all kinds of cool stuff. Why couldn't we have the story in the rails and then have this really cool environmental mat that corresponds, and all the color palette looks gorgeous together and all of those things?
Absolutely. Like I could
Stefan
see.
said, maybe you can print some player boards on the strips, maybe for Arnak or something like that. Winky face.
Yeah, that's the possibilities are so endless of things that we could do. And then it's never whether or not we can do it. Almost, it's like somehow you can always figure something out. We have some people that have been asking for a great big board, for instance, to put on the rail and to attach it to the rail, or to have it hook into the rail. Well, our cup holders, for instance, you can put two of the big double cup holders together and get a pretty nice shelf. But some people want bigger ones. Well, that requires engineering and it requires physics. It's not so much whether or not we can figure out whether we can do it. It's how much is it going to cost us to do it. And then will people pay that price? Because sometimes the engineering and the mold cost and the minimum quantities, that's what always is the issue. And honestly, even to a lesser degree, we can create a lot of these things at a more affordable price, but it still has to make sense for us to go to production and to have to warehouse it and try to market it and all of those things. So it's like we got to be careful, not let our creativity get ahead of our better sense. But we could definitely have some cool stuff. I would love to do some. I know we wouldn't impede on any IP, of course, but to do a superhero themed project would be amazing. To do a space epic scenes and storylines with those type of character tropes and all of that kind of crosses multi-genre space adventures would be super cool. A Warhammer themed thing without, again, and there's always possibilities of doing licensing things, but we're probably not a large enough company to where we have the volume to be able to pay for that, because those can be very expensive. So, but you never know that there's possibilities of forming partnerships with companies and doing some crazy cool stuff.
If it was a sci-fi themed game, like some of the Star Wars games, for instance, and you had a game mat that was the interior of your spaceship, like your collective spaceship, the little side panels that you're working on, the little side neoprene panels. They could be your individual bunk, or they could be air corridors. If you were going to link two ships with tiles on them for miniature movement, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. Oh, Raymond in the chat says, I know some super cool unlicensed superhero and sci-fi games from companies who might just be interested in some sort of collab.
Well, send them our way. I think that's what's so, to me, is I think, and I don't know, I think this is one of the coolest things we've ever done. And we put a lot of effort into it. Brent and I, our schedules were horribly crazy and chaotic. Brent was running to shows and taking care of family, and he's got to go down to Atlanta. He's got to go to Missouri. I mean, he's all over the place, and we're trying to get this done in time for the Kickstarter. I got to get merchandise samples, prototypes done. I got to get printing done and trying to get artwork done so that we could actually show it to people. I mean, it was frantic to get videos, the creations that we've done. But all in all, I was just so enthused by the idea and the project. So we've put a ton of effort into this, and we hope that, our followers, that I hope we're doing a good job trying to show it off. Is really, I think when people see it, it's so much better. We're going to have one of these at PAX Unplugged, by the way. So people are going to be able to see this in person, and we'll probably have some of these available in our late pledge manager at that time too. But one of the big announcements that we want to make today with you, Brent, we have the ability to make 48 of these particular Mycroft toppers on this run. We may be able to expand that down the road to include in our Watson size, maybe the home size. So there's some opportunities. And Brent, I've talked to you about, resizing some things, and that's a lot of effort. That's 20, 30 hours of Brent's time just to make this work. So this isn't a cheap thing what we're doing. We're really putting thoughtful effort into it. But that being said, we have this available in our Reichenbach Falls package, and that includes all those amazing items. You're getting the storage bags for storing your topper and traveling, heavy-duty premium bag. You're also getting a set of cup holders, the 2 of the big double collapsible cup holders, 4 of the single cup holders. You're getting that big accessory bundle that we unlocked that's $120 value with the accessory trays and the cardboard covers and the rubber coasters, all of that. And then the other stretch goals that are coming unlocked, where you get an extra mat for only $50, saving you $70. You're getting the game tote. We just are getting close to unlocking where you get the dice accessory bank with the turntable. That's a $40 value included in every package. And then, of course, at the 200,000 or at the 175, you're also getting that great big 3-inch challenge coin medallion from Game Toppers. This big, huge, chunky coin, $22 value coin. That's really great for our first player market. So there's about $250 worth of extra stuff in these packages. Packages are an amazing deal. Every one of them, we've knocked our prices the most we've ever done in a package with all the things we're offering. That being said, still a big chunk of money for a lot of folks. Times have been tough too, gas and food and everything else has gone through the roof. We get that. We are going to make 10 of these new designer art Mycroft toppers from Brent Woodside and Game Toppers. These are going to be made available as an individual pledge where you can just buy the topper. So you're going to get the Mycroft topper. If you take the center leaf out, you actually have the Moriarty. So the 4x4 or 4x6 topper. And we're going to offer that the retail on that is $16.99, but we're offering 10 of them, only 10, very limited edition, for $11.99. So if you don't want all those extras, which actually I think is the best value by far, that's the way I would do it. Saving you several $100s if you want all that stuff. But say you just wanted to jump in at a lower price point and maybe add that stuff later, no problem. That's for making that available at $11.99. That's a great deal, and to get in on this amazing Brent Woodside designer art.
We have a question here from Edgar. It says, hello, is there a place where we can see all of the different game mats available?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've had a couple people ask us, and maybe we need to do a better job in placement. We have so many items on our Kickstarter page. It's really hard to clutter everything up. So honestly, I think we need to do just a Kickstarter where it just has our mats so we could focus in, because there's so much stuff. I really get that. But at the bottom of the page, there's a video mat catalog. It's a YouTube video that can be seen on our YouTube channel. It's also on our website at GameToppersLLC.com on the mat page. On our website, there's really nice thumbnails, larger pictures of every mat from our last campaigns, and that catalog. And that's a video catalog where it goes through and shows a lot of the detail of each mat. New 10 mats that we're doing now, Josiah and I spent a ton of time taking pictures of games set up on a Watson topper with thematic elements with the games that made sense with that. So the Starfield mat, we did Last Light and Catan Seafarers and so forth. If you click on those banners under the stretch goals for all the mats, you're going to see a mat collection. There are usually 2 to 3 minutes of details of all of the mats. And right now, that's about the best way that we can show that. So
I see you working on this Clone Commander over there, and there's 2 of them. And I've got to ask, what is going on with these awesome looking miniatures?
Well, they're Black Series figures, and I guess something I do on the rare occasion I have the time to do it is weather and repaint Black Series figures a little bit. I'm mostly a patron of people who do that, but occasionally I'm trying to do it myself to a much lower degree than them. I've always worked in 2 dimensions. The 3rd dimension has always defeated me.
So do you do much painting of miniatures and things of that nature?
I do, but it's compared to even novice miniature painters. It's very mediocre. If I ever make one that I'm proud of, I'll show it off.
There you go.
Josiah does a lot of painting of miniatures and so forth. So
then I am sure you are 1,000 times better than me. 2 dimensions. I have control over that. That 3rd one gets tricky.
You know,
that's the thing, is like with the creation of new art and things like that, that's always eluded me, and trying to like create something original. But just giving me a figure and then, you know, copying a design that's already out there, or a color scheme, it's like, well, then it just feels like an adult coloring book at that point. I'm just painting in the lines.
I dig it. No, I get bored easy. Like if I intermix my painting with doing jujitsu, and so I'll wake up and I'll paint a little bit, and then if there's a morning class, I'll go to the morning wrestling class, and then I'll paint for a little bit more, and then I'll go back to the night jujitsu class, or I teach a German sword fighting with from the 1300s. So yeah, for me, I just get too bored too easy, and have to have breaks, physical exercise breaks, or it just kind of gets stagnant, and I'm not as creative, I guess.
It's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if you know him or remember him or not, but Sam Healy from the Flip Side of Board Gaming. He used to be with the Dice Tower years ago, and now he has his own media channel. He's moved out to Seattle with his family and so forth. And anyway, he did a video of us. I've been a long time friend of Sam for the last 8-9 years, whatever. He has artwork from Woodside Illustrations in the back of his room with this Star Destroyer and the Death Star, and they're in panels. He has that artwork from you, and when he saw we were doing Woodside Illustrations, he goes, "You got to be kidding me!" And then another funny story is one of our helpers for our summer conventions. He's a professor of economics at the Alexandria Technical College, and his name is Kelly Hughes. He's been helping me for 5-6 years for the summer shows and whatnot. He went to England with me one year, and anyway, great guy. And I told him what we were doing. He said, "Are you kidding me?" He says, "I've got several of Kayla's art on my wall right now." So, you are a noted artist, of course, because you're not only have you gotten around a little bit in board game circles, but you've done significant projects with companies, like Disney and the Tolkien Estate, Wizards of the Coast. And I mean, do you have any big projects that you're working on now you can talk about, or?
Disney bought up about 5 paintings. It's been 2 or 3 weeks, and they usually don't come out anywhere from. The most rush. My wife did the first official Grogu painting. Of course, we did the painting like the night the first episode of The Mandalorian appeared, and we were like, well, they're gonna want merch of that because none of the merchandisers or licensees knew Grogu was gonna be a thing. No Baby Yoda, and so that night we were like, well, they're gonna want that now. So we stayed up after watching it at 2 a.m. and did a bunch of like concepts and got it started. And then within 48 hours, she'd had a Grogu painting done, of course, the child at the time, and I had a Mando painting done. So we got those in. Those were the fastest turnaround I've ever seen at like a month or so. But I think that costs them money to push it through that fast because normally it takes, I don't know, 2 months, 6 months. So with the Ahsoka show, with the events of the Ahsoka show, like making fans go crazy, and even I think was it the 5th episode that was in theaters. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the Ahsoka show, so I won't talk about it. But there was a bunch of stuff that happened in the Ahsoka show that they wanted merch of.
So awesome. how does your guys' artwork typically get used?
So I've done how to draw books. I've done how to for Star Wars. I've done how to draw courses on StarWars.com. I've done I've done stuff they've used for advertising before, but mostly what I do is limited edition prints, like collectible prints. But it's all merchandising. People are always like, "Well, are you in the credits? Is that your art in the credits of The Mandalorian?" And I'm like, so there's concept art. Well, there's the team that comes up with the ideas and starts writing, and then the concept arts, they start fleshing it out. And then the people who make the costumes and everything make the show. The actors, make the show, and then when that's all said and done, and it's popular, then they go to the merchandisers, and that's where
Stonemaier Games. I'm just losing his name. Jamie Stegmaier from Stonemaier Games. Good grief. Jamie, when they actually had art from Jacob Radinsky, I believe is the way you pronounce his last name, and that whole artwork for the game Scythe, the game was actually developed from the artwork, which was a very unique scenario because for some reason this artwork captivated Jamie and he built a game around the art. And then obviously, they collaborated to expand that universe. It's a very interesting topic and this art book that they put together for this game. When I was looking at our designer art series, I was thinking, I'm not a game manufacturer, but there's so much story to be told here. We could design a game around this, what's going on in this thing here.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I love all the creative stuff that you come up with. And you do a lot of shows across the country?
Oh, yeah. Well, before COVID, I had some employees that would do shows for me. My mom, my brother would do shows separately for me. Sometimes Kayla and I would separate and do shows. And if you count every weekend of a Renaissance Fair as its own thing, we were doing like 80 weekends of shows. Wow. Sometimes 3 or 4 on a weekend, just everybody separating out to go do stuff. But post-COVID, we've done a lot less shows, but we've really zeroed in on what shows are the best because a lot of our employees found other stuff to do when they couldn't go to conventions. So we
What
just don't
kind of
have
board game centric shows are you attending?
we do Origins and Gen Con. Um, we do Adepticon. Seems like there's another one I'm not thinking of.
Dragon Con?
Oh yeah, Dragon Con. Dragon Con is just such a spectacle. It is an event. Like it is everything. So it's definitely game. There's definitely gaming elements, but all of downtown Atlanta just goes insane.
Have you done PAX Unplugged or any of the PAX events?
No, I've always wanted to. But my schedule or various things have always kept me from getting to one. I did.
Have you done anything that's international, like the UK Games Expo or Essen Spiel Fair?
Well, I really hate flying, but I did do a Star Wars convention in London once, and it was really cool. The big Star Wars celebrations, it's just all Star Wars stuff. There's still gaming stuff at those. Come to think of it, I mean, it's hard to think of a convention I've been to that had no gaming element at all in the last 5 years. We're really living in the age of the nerd. Like it all overshadows and fills in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just pop up our kind of banner here that we have, but I believe this shows you in a little bit of a cosplay costume as well.
Oh yeah.
So is that something you do regularly?
Yeah, that's my so I have 3 different versions of my Mandalorian armor. I have a set that's all actual metal that Tom Hutchins of the Mando Mercs made for me. That's the heart off of it there. And let's see, last weekend? Yeah, it was last weekend. There was a Star Wars airsoft LARP here in Missouri that goes from Wisconsin to Missouri. In the spring they do Wisconsin, and in the fall they do Missouri. And yeah, I've done all kinds of. My wife and I met LARPing at the local Wind Fair. She was a barbarian in the barbarian pit. But this Star Wars event was really cool. I got to wear my metal armor and shoot airsoft guns at each other, and it was probably 50 acres of land. This giant airsoft field that used to be a strip mine, so there's a big hole with water in the middle. And then there was all these cities. There was one city has like a 3-story building. There's an old West town and stuff. And anyway, you're running around, you're shooting each other with BBs, and they've got grenades that one even went off like right by my leg. And the grenade goes off and it's fire and there's smoke, but like nothing comes out of it. To show it was safe, someone even set one off in their hand and it didn't blow off their fingers. So that was cool. But the metal plates, when they get hit with a BB, it actually makes the ping, like it's hit.
Pew, pew, pew.
The night games, you get reflective BBs and you get a tracer unit that fits on the end of your blaster, and it shoots a laser at the BB as it goes, so it makes it make a green or a red streak through the air like it's an actual blaster bolt. So yeah.
So have you done like the San Diego Comic-Cons or any of that type of thing?
Back when it was real easy to get into San Diego would have been for me because Lucasfilm had so much to do with it. I didn't want to make the drive all the way out there. And since then, I have not had a chance to get in. I'm on the wait list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the airsoft LARP thing because I have a friend who's really into that. He tends to do a lot of World War II and modern airsoft LARP events, but he recently messaged me about the Star Wars one. It might be the same one you're talking about, and asked if I wanted to go to that one at some point. So
absolutely
who knows?
should. As far as I know, there's only the one, and it would either be in Wisconsin or Missouri. And yeah, they were great people. Everyone was very friendly, even though you're killing each other with blasters. Everyone stayed in character in a really hilarious way. The Imperials were jerks until they were out of the role playing area, and then they were very friendly. They definitely as a hired mercenary, they sent me up this hill that was just a meat grinder. Very Imperial. And then at one point, I was hired to do something else. The whole Mandalorian clan was hired to go do something else. And so that ended in the middle of a 2-hour session. And so I went back to the Imperial camp and I was like, hey, we're available for purchase again. And they were like, well, we'll pay you the standard Imperial rate of 100 credits. So I pulled out one of the grenades and I was like, well, actually, it seems like we're worth at least 300 credits each. There's 20 of your Imperial officers like here in this command tent. I think I could get them all.
Well, so those of you that have been listening, you know, you're seeing the type of people that we associate with. It's definitely a lot of fun nerd culture, but Brent and his wife, Kayla, they just are amazing artists, and we're so thrilled with them to help create some of these new ideas. And we want to, before we end the show here, I think we don't want to go too long here, but we do want to talk about a couple of the new stretch goals and milestones. We're going to pull that up here real quickly. And we've already mentioned that we're bringing the new designer art Mycroft game topper table as a limited edition. 10 of them are going to be made available for only $11.99 as just individual items outside of the package. This is its own pledge level that you can now jump in on if you'd like. And you can still add all of the different add-ons if you pledge for this level. So you're going to see that there available. You also, at 150,000, this was a great big milestone thing. We started doing milestones, and what's unique about this is each milestone has a customer loyalty gift or reward, if you will, where we're doing something extra special for our backers. We're also unlocking several things at those milestones. So it helps us push through some of the things we wanted to offer on this campaign. We need your help to do that. So keep pushing, keep sharing the campaign. But at 150,000, we've got the Game Hall padded storage bag. Beautiful, high quality bag. Normally $59. You can get it for $39 normally as an add-on. But at 150, we unlocked it where we dropped another $10 off for $29. And then, of course, the Game Tote, which is one of my favorite bags. We love these bags. You can get up to 5 Ticket to Ride size games in there. It's an awesome stackable insulated zippered bag, $25. You get that free with every package. And then additionally at 150, we unlocked Jay Burton mat rack. You're getting the mat rack. You're getting 4 mats, 4 mat storage bags, a reduced shipping because all 4 of those mats are shipping together. Instead of paying $15 a piece for them, you're getting a much lower shipping rate. And when you do the math from our double mat bundle, if you just want 2 mats, great deal there where you got 2 bags free, you got a discount on the mats, you get a discount on the shipping, great deal. But this here kept that deal intact and gave an additional value where that mat rack, it retails for $189. On the Kickstarter, we're selling it for $129. But when you do the math there, you're close to getting that for free. And we also included the 3x5 mat size in this bundle. And then at $155 on our Mycroft dining covers, not only do you get that high quality, high resin Mycroft dining cover, they're beautiful, they're very high quality. This is not cheap material. And I know it's a bit of a cost, but this is a very high quality piece of furniture. That dining cover, we're including that $79 mat bag. That has 5 padded panels where each section of your dining cover goes in there. It has heavy reinforced handles so that you can store this, take it to, your game room or wherever you want to put that. So it's all in a nice package. That's coming free with that. So that's a $79 value. But then at 160 grand.
And also with the Watson and Holmes.
Thank you. And the Watson and Home dining covers. That's an add-on through the a la carte. You're going to get that bag free also. And we dropped the Watson and Holmes dining cover prices as a sale price, but we didn't make it as a separate pledge because the Mycroft was a brand new item we wanted to introduce. At 160, again, you can click these graphics. You can see detailed pictures of the mat set up with games. At 160, we unlocked the Water Mat by Jay Solansky, the Old West Train by Xavier Inkgollum. This is an amazing mat. The new Horror Mat by John McCambridge at 160, that's unlocked. At 165 today, we just unlocked the 2 play mats, the 14 by 24 in the black and in our crimson red. This is our premium 3mm stitched edge, the whole caboodle, $30 mats that we're offering for $20. Crazy. Then at 170, we're going to be doing a 30-inch by 72 crimson red, including the bag for $80, $79. It's crazy. That's great for those plastic lifetime tables or to take to your gaming cafe or whatever. And then at 175, this is the big deal again. We're going into this milestone. We're going into where you're getting a customer loyalty benefit plus several items that are being unlocked. This game topper game medallion that you see in the picture there, this is one big chunky, I don't know exactly, I should weigh it. I feel like it's almost a pound, but it's probably not quite a pound. But it's awesome. It has just such a great these are not cheap. I bought 1,500 of them. And what happens is this: if you've ever backed a Game Topper project through Kickstarter and Backer Kit or our Shopify web store, we have your email on file. Any purchase that you make during this campaign, even if it's a $10 purchase, any purchase that you make as a pledge level, you are $25, but you can pledge for $1 and you could potentially buy something that's lesser price. But anyway, you're going to get a free medallion. These are from Goliath Coins. They get sold for $25 at the show. He has all kinds of amazing coins. We have it for $22. So if you've never backed us before, you can get one of these for $22. But all of you are going to get it free, and we're going to ship it with your order free. So you're going to get it absolutely free. And it's just something that we wanted to do to say thank you for backing Game Toppers, for being amazing supporters. And we just wanted that to be that. We also, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's cool, but it's also naturally a D2 if you ever need a D2.
There it is. There it is. Because we can flip this baby. Yep. Good point. Our white terrain mat, we've modified it to have a little bit more of a snow icy feel with some little blue hints instead of just gray. And we're making that available in the Watson Homes and Mycroft. We do know that there are some people that are requesting this in the Moriarty. They're requesting it in the XL sizes. This is possible, but again, we don't want to disappoint anyone. I'm always bothered when people are like, well, like, I need this and this. And it's like, okay, but I just can't make one of them without it costing a lot. Let's put it that way. So I do want to accommodate, but I need to get some feedback. If I've had a few people say they want the Moriarty 4x4. I also have had a couple of people mention an XL size. And so if we can get the numbers, I'm happy to do it, but I just can't buy 50 mats on the shelf either. So it's one of those things that we might unlock this as a future stretch goal if I can get some more feedback of if people are willing to commit to that, if that makes sense.
And one thing I want to interject really quickly is later today, we have the graphic ready now to put up on the page for our mat availability chart. This is going to list all of the different styles of game mat that we have, as well as the different sizes. And so you can see what's being offered in what sizes, just in case there's any confusion, just puts it all in one nice chart so you can just verify what we have available.
And most of our mats come in at least 8 sizes, 6 sizes, and then some of them up to 11 sizes. So our inventory is massive. I mean, we have over 250 SKUs. When you see our pick and pack area, which I'm going to be making a video of our warehouse for everybody, I haven't forgotten, but it's an amazing thing, but it's also an expensive thing to be able to bring so much variety to you. And then also at 175, you've got the big accessory bank that has the turntable. available for you at $175. That's going to be included in every package, another $39 value. At $180,000, if you want to just buy cup holders, you can get a special price on all those cup holders. At $185, you can get a double dice tower bundle where you're going to save $50. Huge deal there. At $190, you're going to be able to get the dice tower and the corrals that complement the package that is unlocked, where you got the rail legs and the dice accessory trays. This is to complement that, to make it a dice tower bundle. Excuse me. And then at $195, we've got the acrylic cover set for the cup holders, discounting that down to $20, including the dry erase markers. At $200,000, though, this is what we want to talk about. The big milestone at $200,000 is a 6-pack. You're going to get 6 Game Topper game mats, and you're going to go from the Adler all the way to the 3x5 sizes. You're going to get the Lord Burkton mat rack. That's our premium mat rack, and all the storage bags. Huge discount. I've never priced our product that low. It's seriously, we're compromising a ton of margin to give you a very special price.
And then at 200,000, this is another massive stretch goal that we've offered, is the free Mycroft game mat with the purchase of one of our brand new Mycroft dining covers. So whether you get that in the pledge or whether you select it as an add-on. So let's say you've already you're pledging for a Reichenbach Falls or this new Mycroft Designer Series standalone topper pledge, and you want to then get the dining cover as well in the pledge manager, you will also get the ability to take advantage of this offer to get a free game mat as well. So whether it's the pledge or whether it's an add-on in your post Kickstarter survey, you'll be able to get this if we unlock this at 200,000.
And that's a crazy good deal. We retail those mats for $169. You can get them on our shop right now for $149, but we did a really good sale where they're $119 if you're just buying a mat. But we're going to give that to you free. It's an amazing thing. You're getting the dining cover, which is a super high quality product, but you're also getting that storage bag for the dining cover, a $79 value, and the mat. That's like $200. It's a big value. You know, we wanted to make you an offer that you couldn't refuse. You know what I mean? And then there's one last thing we'll talk about today, and then we're going to move on. The Baker Street Irregular is this amazing mat storage solution that allows you to store your mini mats. They have high quality Velcro on the back, and these can be daisy chained with these hardware to put on the back of a closet door or a wall. And this allows you to store up to 20 to 40 mats. It's our premium bag with the clear window. You can take one of them, just pull it off of there, take it to game night. You can use the caddy to make 4 of your mats and take it to game night. It's just a fantastic solution. They hang really nicely over our mat racks on the end and make it look really cool, and also provides that extra storage so you don't have to worry about where all your play mats are being stored nicely so they don't wrinkle and all of that. But not only did we do that Baker Street Irregulars caddy, you get 4 bags, you get the caddy, you get all the hardware, the clips, all of that. It's normally $80. You're getting it for $39 on the Kickstarter campaign, okay? But then this at 200,000, we're going to go another notch. We're going to give you a 14 by 24 crimson red play mat absolutely free. Another $25 value. You know, it's $20 for the mat and $15 for the shipping. You're really saving $35 in addition to getting the thing for only $39. It's a crazy good deal. I've got 1,000 of them coming, so get them while you can get them.
And also at 200,000, we are unlocking in the Watson and Holmes mat sizes a black 3mm stitched edge mat. So this is another design we haven't offered before, but people have requested. So it's just a plain flat black mat.
And we have a bunch of more exciting stretch goals that we want to unlock in the future. We believe right now, we were just on the show with Grant Lyon last week, and Grant said that if we hit $1 million, he will deliver your topper and give a 10-minute comedy bit. And I bet you if we hit $1 million, I'll bet you Brent would deliver your topper and do a sketch for you. I mean, of course, we'd have to pay him to do this, but if we do $1 million, okay, I'm in.
Sketch or jujitsu lesson. It's up to you.
There you go.
You never know. We might have a huge benefactor or someone out there that says, that's what I want. But I think everybody's safe. Honestly, this Kickstarter, because of our a la carte pledge, we have over 350 people just in the a la carte. There's over 2,300 people watching this campaign. A lot of those convert towards the end of the campaign. We know this. We have a huge marketing blitz at the end of the campaign too. So we know that we're going to surge, or at least we hope and believe that we will, based on our experience of doing this many times. This is typically the trend. Well, we're making these goals attainable, but we also know a lot of the success of this campaign, it's not really being reflected in the Kickstarter number, because a lot of people will be buying those mat bundles, dining covers, leg kits, things of that nature in the pledge manager. So we don't want that to discourage anybody that we don't have $1 million campaign. When it's all said and done, we're very grateful for all of the support and all the product that people purchase. Each one of you, I can't thank you enough, and I can't tell you how much we value each person. This is not a number thing to me. It's really about creating great products that are going to be heirloom quality, that are going to last you a lifetime type of thing, and create them at good value, but really to upgrade everybody's gaming experience and create fun. That's why we did this. And thankfully it worked out, and then it grew into something that's a little bit bigger than I ever thought it would be. But we're not resting on our laurels. We are continually trying to get better, trying to do new, cool stuff. And we're really excited about that. And we've got a bunch of ideas yet that we want to unleash. So let's blow through that 200 grand mark, and then we'll reveal a whole bunch of new, cool stuff. And these mat ideas, I have these pads. I have our manufacturer making me some samples right now in the wood grain and in the steel gray. We think those two would complement the rail really nicely. We had talked about maybe doing them in black, and we've not had as much positivity for that. But perhaps I can get a sample made of the designer art from Brent Woodside, and we can see what that might look like too for those of you that have standard toppers.
Stefan says, the water mat is gorgeous. The horror mat too. I'm sitting next to my standard Watson with the Ryan Lockett mat here in my basement, and it was the best decision to buy it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I think we've talked about a lot of stuff, and I know that for those of you that join, some of you watch many of these question and answers, there's a little bit of redundancy, but a lot of times we have new people coming in too. And we just, again, want to thank you for your support. Thank you for letting us know what your feedback is. If you have questions or concerns, that's one thing that Josiah and I pride ourselves on, is we work very hard to treat each of you with respect. If you email us at support@gametoppersllc.com, or myself, Berkey, at gametoppersllc.com, unless we make a mistake, we're very good at responding very quickly, especially during the weekdays. business hours. I tend to work after hours, and you're going to get a thoughtful response, hopefully, from me and from Josiah. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. If you have any concerns, if you are waffling on something and need some assurances to make sure you're making a good decision, we'll do the best we can to give you just honest information and find out if this is the right decision for you. I know there's a lot of options out there. We really encourage people to check around, talk to other people, ask them, hey, do you have a game topper? What do you think? Try to, go out and do your research. We have a Facebook group called Game Topper Nation. There's about 1,400 people in there. And I say it's not a place for customer service. If you have customer service concerns, just call us. We'll take care of that, or email us. But this is a place for fun. But if you go into that community and just ask questions, you'll get 10, 15 people that'll just jump in and tell you what their experiences are. And they're very honest and they're very enthusiastic. So it's really, really an awesome community. Love to have you join that. And with that all said, Brent, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Yeah. So I got one more thing, if you're okay with it.
Yeah.
So the way my schedule works, I usually don't have time to work with companies. Like Disney keeps me pretty busy. It was really you guys, like your obvious dedication to like doing something great, and you're like so committed to like making it good. And you're into the stuff, so it just everything you guys do, you really put your heart and soul into it. And that inspired me to like take the time and push my schedule apart until I could actually work with you. But companies come to me all the time and want me to work on this or that. And I made an exception for you guys because you guys are that cool.
Well, and we can't thank you enough, Brent, because I know we did have some deadline there that we were all scrambling, and Brent just so brilliantly just put in the extra time that he had to over a weekend, even put in a lot of effort into this project. And I'm hoping that it was positive. I know there was a lot of work, but there was a lot of wonderful interaction between us. And for me, that collaboration was priceless. You don't always have that opportunity to work with people who likewise very much care. You care about the product you're producing. You're not just slapping something together to make a buck. And I appreciated that about both you and Kayla. So I'm really hoping that we can develop something more in the future and continue to collaborate and do some cool stuff.
For sure.
How can people get a hold of you, and if they want to inquire about your art or those type of things, Brent?
My Instagram's what I update the best. It's at Brent Woodside Art and at Kayla Woodside Art. I'm on Facebook, Brent Woodside Art again. WoodsideIllustrations.com or WoodsideIllustration.com. I bought them both, so they just both go to the same site. Has a bunch of my limited edition stuff, but yeah. Instagram's probably the best if you're on there. I've been surprised. I've Google searched myself, and I've been surprised about the amount of art that you get from just typing in Brent Woodside.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. Love what you do. And we're so grateful to partner with you. Thank you for taking the time to come on this type of show too. I know we're not totally just talking with you, so it's you're sitting there and enjoying all the questions.
For sure.
Well, everyone else, we just want to again thank you. Please let's share this campaign out to your friends and family and whoever. If you want to go out on the street and say there's a Kickstarter running, feel free to do that. Or
if you are at BGGCon,
oh, thank you. I'm going to be at BGGCon, and Ralphie's coming with. Oh yeah, baby. So the Commissioner Ralph Trophy, which I am now the holder of, and the new Baseball Highlights 2045 map. Woohoo! That's all unlocked. It's coming to the show. I don't have any of them for sale at the show, but you'll be able to back them on the Kickstarter campaign. But I'm going to be at BGGCon. We're going to be at the show there with Trent Turner and some other people helping me in the booth. I'll be in the booth a good amount of the time during this show, but I'll have a little bit of time on Friday and Saturday afternoon where if you're there, we might be able to get in a game of Baseball Highlights or something And then we're also going to be at PAX Unplugged at the end of the month in Philadelphia. So love to see you. Love to connect with all of you folks. And with that, I think we're going to sign off.
Awesome. Well, one other last thing is, so obviously with you being gone at BGG, I think, do we have the next live Q&A scheduled, or is that it's probably...
Currently, we don't have another one scheduled until we come back on Tuesday, the 21st, I believe it is.
Yeah, so there'll be a little bit longer gap here until our next live Q&A, but we'll keep you all updated and get you informed as to when that next one will be. So...
And while I'm gone at the show, I'm always working. So I'll be putting some updates where I'll still be active. Josiah, my daughter Hannah, who does our graphic work, we're going to be continuing to update everything on the website and still be very available for any support that you need. So thank you again.
And we'll see you next time.